Hello class, this is Demetrius Wilson, BA 121, Sales. We are now on Chapter 11, close to the end, Handling Objections, the Power of Learning from Opportunities. So you can turn an objection into an opportunity. It's all in the manner in which you look at it. In the video ride along, it's Handling Objections from Paul Blake. We've heard from him before, Vice President of Sales from Greater Media, Philadelphia. He gives his tips about handling objections. He shares his advice on how to make handling objections the most productive part of the selling process, because an objection does not necessarily mean a no. So you have to know how to handle them and manage them in the appropriate way to turn them on your side. Discussion questions for that video ride along. Evaluate the process of handling customer objections as one of the key sales ingredients for successful selling techniques. List a few steps which you would take to handle customer objections in a sales scenario. So what would you do? And actually a little bit further along in the chapter, it tells you what you should do. And of course you have some tips and traits that you use on your own that you can go ahead and fold these into as well. Chapter objectives, understand what a sales objection is, learn how overcoming objections can strengthen a relationship, understand when and why prospects raise objections, learn strategies to handle these objections. Another page of objectives, understand the different types of objections and how to handle them, learn about common objections you may hear in job interview and the best way to respond is quite interesting. I had a job interview the other day and heard some objections and thought about that and said this is the way that you should respond to those objections, not necessarily in a argumentative manner, but in a way to show that you object to what's being said. Maybe you agree to disagree, but you also state your point in a well-mannered way. Understand how to follow up to a job interview can help someone overcome objections. So in your follow-up, you may mention that, like for instance, in your thank you letter or email, you may follow up in regards to those objections because those are things that they're concerned about. What are objections? Sales objections are prospect questions or hesitancies about either the product or company, or it could be a hesitancy about the salesperson. Signals your prospect's level of interest, alerts you to what actions need to be taken to bring the sale to a close, helps you to build a relationship, and helps in finding the true reason for resistance, right? So when you have these objections, if they're open and honest with you, now you can create open dialogue so that you can actually close for the sale. Objections as opportunities, and they are definitely opportunities unless it's just a flat-out slam the door in your face. No. Objections should be considered as an extension of the selling process. It's all folded into the selling process. To understand better what your prospect wants and needs, don't avoid objections. Encourage them. We want to encourage them. Tell me what's on your mind. Tell me what's stopping you from finalizing this sale, and I'll tell you if that's something that I can fix or if maybe there's a misunderstanding. Consider objections before they occur, and this is the best way to take that proactive approach. Strategies for preparing for the objections that will build your relationships with the customer. Understand your prospect and believe in your partnership, right? You have to trust in your partnership. It goes both ways. Do not lose sight of your prospect's buying motivations. You have to know why they're motivated to buy your product and or service. Understand your prospect's risk factors, what type of risks are involved in their company, financial and also internal. Think about every possible objection the prospect might express, right? So if you already know what they're going to say, you're already ready for it. Be proactive and prepared to raise objections first. So if you raise them first, they say, hey, this guy's really thinking about me. That's exactly what I was going to say. Why prospects object? No or not enough money. So $sign, it's about money. No perceived need. I don't need it. I don't need a fighter jet, right? No sense of urgency. I want a pool in 10 years, but no sense of urgency because it's 10 years from now. And no trust. They don't trust in you or the company, or possibly both. And hopefully that's obviously not the case. When prospects object, when you're first trying to make contact, right? So when you're first trying to get in there and they object, like if you're trying to date someone or you go up to someone, you try to talk to them, or you try to initiate contact, if they object right then and there, it's kind of going to make it's going to be a rocky road to try and get to the end. When you are making a sales presentation, right? So they may raise their hand and say, I have an objection here. When you are attempting to close a sale or make a trial close. So they might bring up objections at that time as well. How to handle objections. So consider the objection as a question, right? So don't consider it as a no, consider it as a question. Respond to the objection with the question. Restate the objection before answering the objection because you want to make sure that you know and understand what they're truly saying. Take a pause before responding. Use testimonials and past experience. Joe Schmo down the street, this is the same objection that he had, and this is how we overcame it. And never argue with the prospect. So if you argue back and forth, that's a quick way to lose your sale. So these are the types of objections, and we're going to flash back to this after we get to some questions that I want you to do on your own. Product objection, a concern voiced by the prospect relating to directly to the product. A source objection, a barrier presented to by the prospect relating to your company or you, because you're the source, you're bringing it to them, but they're rejecting you. Price objection, a concern voiced by the prospect about the perceived value of the product or service. So maybe they can afford it, but they just don't like the price point. And money objection, a concern voiced by the prospect that relates to the budget or financial ability to make the purchase. Now, in this instance, we actually can't make the purchase because we don't have enough money. So these are different types of objections. I'm already satisfied objection. A barrier presented by the prospect that indicates that there is no need for the product or service. You're trying to sell me a treadmill. I have a brand new treadmill. I'm already satisfied. Hidden objection, an objection that is not openly stated by the prospect, but is an obstacle in the way of making the sale. And that's tough because it's hidden, so you have to either draw it out or continue to ask questions until they tell you. I have to think about it, an objection that is actually a stall, right? I have to think about it. It means I want to stall, give it some time, and if I have some time in between, I'm probably not going to allow you to make that sale. So here's the exercise. So classify the statements into appropriate objection categories: product, source, price, or I'm already satisfied, right? So I want you to read those four. So I want you to look at it. I saw a report about how badly your company treated its workers, right? And then I want you to go back to here, right? And see which one it is. So it's probably going to be a source, right? Because it says barrier presented by the prospect relating to the company or you, right? They don't like the source, and they don't like the source because they saw a report about how badly your company treated its customers. So I want you to do those four, and so you look here, you read it, and then you go back to this slide, and you figure out which one it is. Good exercise. Handling the price objection. So this video, Price Too High, features best-selling author and sales expert Jeffrey Gitmer. He discusses how to handle the price objection, and you see from him, you hear from him all the time. We have a lot of good videos from him, not only in sales but also in management. Is being satisfied good enough? So the video, Engage the Prospect, features best-selling author and sales expert Jeffrey again. He explains how you can engage your prospect by taking away the objection before they have a choice to raise it. So if I take that out of the way, so if it's like, oh, because the only color is black, and I say, hey, you can get any color you want ahead of time because I know you want a canary yellow, then I'm taking that objection away. The ultimate stall, the video, I'd like to think about it. Jeffrey again, he refers to the I'd like to think about it statement as a stall and not an objection. So you have to work your way through that stall. Now to the selling you part, how to overcome objections in a job interview. And this is very, very important because if it's someone, the higher you get up, the tougher the job interviews will be. And even if it's not very high up, it could be somebody who's just a tough interviewer. For common interview objections, you don't have enough experience, right? We've all heard that at some point in time. I'm not sure where you'll fit with the team. The position doesn't pay as much as you're looking for. I would be right on the door on that one. You're too experienced for this position, right? So these are different objections, so you have to learn how to overcome those objections. And like I said, not argumentative, right? You don't want to be in an argumentative manner, but you want to say, hey, this is why I disagree with the statement. You don't have to say those actual words why you disagree, and say, I understand your concern. However, and go through that. And I actually went through that just recently. I think it was on Thursday. So hidden objections during job interviews. So hidden objections occur because the prospective employers interview all the candidates and they make their hiring decision, right? So they interview everybody, and then they make their hiring decisions, right? And so I think I was probably like the first person in the interview. So sometimes it can be kind of tough. I've got some good advice about, leaving something behind so they know and understand who you are when they make that decision. Prospective employers respond in a neutral way during the interview, right? They're not going to be like, oh, great, you're our guy. Some do, but most don't. Most try and keep that poker face. Follow up after a job interview, so set yourself apart, sending a thank you email after job interview to the proactive and prospective employer, or write a handwritten thank you note to the prospective employer. There's a sample email, so you go ahead and pause it there and read it, or check it out in the textbook. I'm not going to read through it for you. Sample handwritten thank you note, so go ahead and pause it and read that one, or read in the textbook as well. So these are just examples that you can use when you're writing those. And of course, I did send my thank you email. Thank you note, the video job interview and offers how to compose a thank you letter after a job interview. Speaker explains the different elements of a thank you letter and how each should be taken care of, right? So you want to make sure that you send that. I have people that have interviewed with me before and they didn't send it the next day, they didn't send it the day after that. Maybe they remember 2 weeks later and sent it, but I'd already, hired somebody for the job. So what if you don't hear back? It is recommended that you call and follow up when you don't hear back from the employer or recruiter within the specified time frame. So they told me it'll be probably about 2 or 3 weeks. I'll probably, circle back within 2 weeks and see where they're at and see what the next steps are. So, it's one of those things like, yeah, you don't want to agitate people and you don't want to bother them. However, a lot of times you have to go for what you know, or you will be the person left out of that position. Continue to do research on the company. When you follow up, you can discuss it, right? So additional research will help you learn more about the company. Let them know that you're investing your time and doing your due diligence in order to get that position. So in summary, objections help build relationships. They give you the opportunity to clarify communication and revisit your relationship with the prospect, right? So through these objections, through this turmoil, your relationship with the client will get stronger. Major types of objections: product, source, price, money. Hopefully you've already, paused the video and went back and completed the exercise. I'm already satisfied, hidden, and thinking about it objections. A job interview includes hidden objections. Have to draw those out, figure out what they are. And follow up or for a job interview, powerful way to make yourself memorable post-interview, right? So if you got a great follow-up, they keep that email, they'll look back at it, they'll keep that letter, that card, and they say, hey, you know what? This guy, I like the way he writes, I like what he does. I think I had a really good thank you email for the current position that I have. I think it might have had some impact in terms of the position or selecting me for the position. Not for this current interview path that I'm on, but for the current job that I have now. So that's it for chapter 11. Make sure that you go right on to chapter 12. I'm not saying you have to do it right now, but for the week you need to go on to chapter 12. The usual assignment, usual quiz is there. Chapter 12 is coming up. I will let you know as a heads up once we finish chapter 12. Natural segue is going to be a test coming up soon, because first test is on chapters 1 through 4, second test is on chapters 5 through 8. Not last test, but the next test is on chapters 9, 10, 11, and 12. So that's it for chapter 11. Don't think it was too painful. Hopefully you learned something great, and go on to chapter 12 now. So that's it for everybody. Hopefully you all have a good day and a great week.